Call to order. Good evening to all. This is the Neighborhood Improvement Services Advisory Committee. We meet every other month, and this is our regularly scheduled meeting. If I could have an invocation, please.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come before you again to do your work. Lord, I ask as we go forward that we take special consideration for Miss Wright, who is not here, and the Wright family on the passing of a great man who has done a lot of great things in our community, Mr. Attorney Ernie Wright. Lord, just continue to watch over us as a community as we grow to build and make it a greater place for all that is concerned in the community, be they big or small, be they with or without. Lord, just continue to take care of families as we go forward into this, to the end of this year, in this Christmas season, Lord. Enable us to do as much or as more that we can as we go forward to do thy work on earth. These and all blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Welcome to everybody, and then of course the viewing audience. We're going to go around the table just for a brief introduction. I'm Steve Forney. I happen to be the chair tonight, only by default.
I'm Brian Jackson, City Council Liaison.
Gloria Whitney, member.
Pamela Trafton, Neighborhood Improvement Services Coordinator.
Tracy Jackson, Director of Neighborhood Improvement Services.
Paula Jones, member.
Jerry March, member.
I'm Mark Sutherland, Executive Director of Jacksonville Onslow Economic Development.
Okay. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda? If you have, could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Mark, you're next up.
Wow, that was fast. Thank you. So Pam asked me to come to discuss, quote, the economic state of the city and county. So I have 3 hours of PowerPoint slides that
I misplaced them, so you've got 30 seconds.
So I thought initially when Pam gave me this assignment, what do? We talk about the fact that we're at full employment, that poverty's down over last year, childhood poverty's way down over last year, housing is short, all kinds of housing is short around our community. I could go through 3 hours of slides, but you'd all never invite me back again. So I just want to talk in general about what is unique about our economy here, because it's so very unique. It's often not useful to compare us to other places. So I'm an economic developer, and if I'm doing my job right, we should end up at some point with a developed economy, right? That is our goal, is to carry out programs that lead us to a developed economy, and I call that a prosperous one. So the word prosperity is central to what we do. So what does prosperity mean? In terms of JOED, Jacksonville Onslow Economic Development, it's a three-legged stool. There are three components to prosperity, and they all function together, and none of them function without the others. It's a stool that tips over. The first one is individual wealth. It's that we have programs that help our citizens, our residents, our neighbors have more money in their pocket at the end of the month, plain and simple. Whether that's better wages, whether it's more options, whether it's more skills, whatever it takes. Individual wealth is the key to prosperity. The second leg on that stool is strong local businesses. Our local businesses are key to our economy because they reinvest their money here, right? We have lots of big businesses here that aren't local businesses, and on Friday they tend to take capital out of the county somewhere else. But our locally owned businesses, and I'll give you a couple examples in a while, support our churches and our children's organizations and the baseball teams, and they're just critical to our prosperity as a community. And the third one is a strong, a healthy, and a growing tax base. We need consistent and growing revenue sources for our local governments so they can provide services. Not just those essential public safety and infrastructure and things like that, but the city does a great job with transit, an amazing job with parks and things like that. So the stronger that tax base is, the more Councilman Jackson them can provide a higher level of service. Now, think about that as a three-legged stool now. If we have a higher level of individual wealth, they can provide more support to our local businesses, right? They can do more dry cleaning. They can buy more automobiles. They can buy a new one every now and then. They can, and that in turns supports the tax base. And there is no end to that circle, and there's no beginning. It just all feeds off one another, right? So that's prosperity. The simple way to think about my job is to look at our community as a magnet. In fact, every community can and should be a magnetic community. And by that, I mean, we need to attract wealth. And I want to call it OPM. Other people's money is our favorite kind of stuff we like to attract, right? So other people's money, it comes into a community through primary jobs, right? Primary jobs are ones that take local resources, whether they're raw materials or skilled labor or, in tourism, in the case of tourism, our beach or something like that, resources, and use that to attract money from outside of our political jurisdiction. So generally that's thought of being done in four ways. And the first one everybody thinks of is manufacturing, right? So we have skilled labor and talent and advanced engineering going on here in Onslow County and in Jacksonville that's selling some pretty high-tech stuff to the globe. So other people's money from all around the world is coming back into Onslow County. I like to use the Walton's Distillery as a great example of a primary job where our farmers here grow corn in our dirt that's converted to spirits that's sold to every county in North Carolina and 7 other states. And all those other dollars from other people come back to our community where Walton's Distillery can support the nonprofits in Onslow County where they can provide good paying jobs for Onslow County workers, and they can expand their plant out there, which is expanding the tax base, right, for the local government. So, Robert Fisher runs a machine shop out there on Highway 24 between here and Swansboro. Anybody ever heard of Coastal Swiss Precision? The largest machine shop east of Greensboro, right? And, if you wander into Robert's manufacturing facility, he's making little tiny, very high-tech components for things like scanners at the grocery store, for inserts into breathing apparatus for firefighters. And when he gets an order, it's for 100,000 of these little things. And they're all manufactured right there. And they go all around the world, and they're inspected by one of his guys with one of those things in his eye where he's doing absolute quality control on that. But 100% of that money that comes back to Onslow County stays here because Robert Fisher is an Onslow County resident. So in the case of Walton's Distillery and Robert Fisher, we have locally owned manufacturing. Now, what happens if they're not locally owned, which is everybody else? Well, capitalists, investors, whatever, corporations come in, and we have a ready supply of labor, right? And we have low taxes. We have lots of reasons to do manufacturing here, but the owners don't live here. So I don't care if they live in Charlotte or in Cairo. I consider them a foreign-owned corporation. It's not bad. We're actually very thankful that they're here. But they don't live here, so they don't reinvest here. So there's a little bit of difference there. Not to be negative, again, But when our mom and pop companies are here supporting the service sector, that second leg of the stool, we have income that comes into this county from other people's money. That's the magnet attracting. The second job of the magnet is to keep it here, right? Don't let it go. Be selfish with it, right? So, my biggest concern is leakage. It's demand that our citizens have for products and services in this county that can't be met here, or that aren't being met. And it's $1 billion a year of other people's money that comes in to this community. I talked about manufacturing. Tourism's the second one. People come here from all over, drop their money and go back to Raleigh or wherever they came from. That's good. We love tourism. Another one is retirees. Pension plans that are big funds sitting in other parts of the country send money in every month reliably. And the fourth one, it's a biggie here, is government jobs. Every taxpayer in the United States is helping us out there twice a month, right, with government paychecks. So this is 4 sources of other people's money. When we can't keep it here, it spins out and it becomes other people's money in some other counties. Specifically, this $1 billion of leakage. So I'll hit you with a couple of numbers. $125 million a year is purchased by our residents in groceries alone in some other county. Right? $73 million a year of gasoline station purchases are made by our residents in some other county every single year. $500 million is spent by our residents on entertainment and recreation.
That's a huge one right there.
In other places. And that's about $41 million of local government revenue that we are not getting because we're not answering that demand. So the idea of being a magnetic community is always on my mind. And in Onslow County, leakage is a real close target we can get a handle on, but it takes economic gardening. It takes a plan. It takes a lot of really good data to know how do we fill those voids? How do we answer the need for those goods and services here? And it's a big deal for us at Joe Ed. The other thing is we talked about housing earlier. It's hard to recruit industry here when we don't really have a place for their folks to live. We had an inventory this summer of 3 days, right? That was it. Our normal inventory is 6 months here. So on that particular day, the realtors I was talking with told me if we had 5,000 more homes today, that would get us back to about a normal inventory. That's how short we are on housing. So if we want to help, a company like Stanadyne add 100 jobs, that's great, but I just don't know where they're going to live, right? And so that's a big deal. We not only need housing quantity, we need a variety of housing. We need housing that works for entry-level workers, and we need housing that works for CEOs, right? So they don't live in New Hanover County, and they generally do live somewhere else. And that's not good for our baseball teams and nonprofits here in Onslow County, because they're leaving town with the money on Friday, right? So that whole idea of let's attract other people's money through all of these 4 different ways we have to do it, and there's all kind of good people in the county working on all those fronts, and then strive to keep it here. If that was my 5 minutes, that's what I would leave you with, is that image of capturing other people's money and keeping it here as long as we can. If we go to a big box store and swipe our credit card, that money is gone instantly at the speed of light, and it's gone forever, right? And so that's detrimental to individual wealth, to our local businesses, and to the tax base in the county, in the city. That's the way I look at it in the most simplistic terms.
I know this group wanted to know what we could do as a advisory committee to try to help what's going on as far as economically here in this community. And you touched on housing. That has been a topic of late because of one, what has happened in town center, and the other is the census data that show that we had a decline in our population. Thus, we had a decline in HUD dollars that came in as well. And housing is not just the CEO, it is a entry level, workforce housing, low income housing. There are different types of housing that that's needed here in the community. So we're going to be looking at this whole housing need holistically to see what we can promote, what we can, get started as a catalyst for, some housing developments here in the city of Jacksonville. So that's all you have. I appreciate you coming and confirming what, we've seen that has happened in the past year as far as economic development and the correlation with housing. It is needed.
And there are several areas being prepared for development. And that's part of the planning report as such, things that have come up.
Right.
And at the same thing, I would say one of the largest investments I've seen locally is healthcare from the regional folks, the New Hanover, the Carolina East, seeing their facilities spring up in Jacksonville.
And Wilmington Health and.
In Wilmington Health, I mean, all of them. And it would appear they're also attempting to go for that dollar. But many of those doctors and nurses live in this area too.
Mark, you said we've become a tier 1 community again.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. We weren't far into tier 2, you understand? We were 41.
Yeah.
So falling back to tier 1, if we wanted to drink our own Kool-Aid, we could say, well, that's not so bad. But look, the bottom line is there's no good news story as far as I'm concerned in being a tier 1 county.
That's right.
That's right.
And although it puts you at the head of the line privileges for some funding in certain cases, it means we are not developing a robust economy on all fronts, right?
I mean, we have dropped to even closer to poverty in a tier 1 distressed county. And that means that it's opportunity for funding to be prioritized to us. But as far as the label of a tier 1 is, we're basically a poor county. That's basically what it means economically.
The bottom 40 of the 100 counties, right? According to the state's methodology, right?
And we got that way because we don't have industry, or we don't have enough of, there's plenty of stores out there. I don't.
Pay as well.
There's so much.
So
We need to make something
yeah.
and ship to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have anything to
well, they
ship
don't
out.
measure
Nothing
that.
stays
though.
here.
The state doesn't measure that when it comes to tier 1. They do measure population and wages and tax base per capita, and that's the one I encourage us to watch big time, especially the city of Jacksonville, which is about built out, right? I mean, we really need to think about where could growth be happening 50 years from now, right? Because if that tax base is either growing or it's going, right? It's or you could do a New York thing and go up, I guess, but yeah,
Too much sand.
Yeah. So our industry here, I'd like to brag on for a little bit, and not because we have a Tesla plant or something like that, like some of our other counties in the state do, but we're never going to have a Tesla plant, right? We're never going to We're never going to have the rail infrastructure, the interstate highways, the things that make Greensboro and Winston-Salem and Hickory and places like that attractive places for big industry. But then again, as we've seen in Cary, you know, that $1 billion incentive they issued for Amazon just went away, right? I mean, those big giants, they fall hard. We had a bacon plant down in Holly Ridge, remember that? Mm-hmm. Had 500 jobs at that bacon plant, and the next day there was 0. You know, and that was 20 years ago, and they're just now easing back up to 500 jobs in the entire industrial park out there, right? But that was a big hole in the marketplace. What we do have is the sweet spot of companies with 25 to 50 employees that need 25 to 50,000 square feet of a plant. And they're from all walks of life. They're a tapestry. Okay, and that's actually, to me, spells resilience. So if we were unfortunately lose one of those companies, we did last year. One of the machine shops in Holly Ridge just didn't have a succession plan. The folks got old, they retired, and
Somebody took over.
Yeah, well, their equipment left the county and the jobs because we didn't have a succession plan. But it was 25 to 50 jobs, and I had 3 more of those come in this year. So I think having diversity in our industry is actually a healthy thing. I honestly don't think we spend enough time talking about tax base per capita, though, you know. I know a lot of what would have been tax bases is federal land, and it's not taxable. And I think it's something like 40% of the acreage in the entire county, and 60% of the value, what would be the value, is just plain not taxable. So it's tough here. So it's hard to compare us to some other places that we would like to call sister communities. But there is good news. When I got here into this job 5 years ago, we were the 4th lowest wages in the state. That's saying something when you think about some of those other places, right, in the state. The next year we were 9th lowest in the state, so that's nothing to have a parade about, but it's better to be the 4th.
Slightly.
Yeah.
They're going the right
We
direction.
went in the right direction.
And at this annual meeting in May, we had leapfrogged 33 other counties in terms of wages. That's a really good news story. You know, that starts to speak to individual wealth, and it might not be in our face today, but over time, that's a really good news story. You know, we fared a lot better here than some places during the recession, but you know, good paying jobs are part of the secret to the housing solution, right? And you know, we have a overabundance of talent here. We have an enormous talent pool in this community. So we have supply. We just don't have that much demand. So trying to hook our supply up with that demand, wherever it may be, is a challenge that we think about in my office all the time. Let me give you a little statistic. In this county, for every job opening that requires a bachelor's degree, we have 50 candidates. For every job in this county that requires a master's degree, we have 75 candidates. Now, let me put that in perspective. If you're in New Hanover, you're in Wake County, you're in Mecklenburg County, they have 2 candidates per job opening. 75 candidates here that have master's degrees for every 1 job opening. So when you see a highly educated, you know, employee with a lot of experience working for not much money, it's because we have way too much supply and not nearly enough demand, right? So one of the things we've been working on since 2019 is to bring the right partnership together to create a secure remote working space, a knowledge center, not a call center, a knowledge center, so that employers like USAA and Wells Fargo that really like these satellite places in military communities can have 40 or 50 jobs here, and they can be secure, they can be cyber secure, they can have lock-in conference rooms and everything else, and they go get paid wages well above and beyond what we used to be making here in Oslo County.
You say we have a lot of like contractors that come in town, but it could be more.
That's right.
You know, we want more of them to come here and stay here. You know, and like you said, we have one of these knowledge centers, or we talked about incubators before, you know, maker spaces where we could actually.
Yeah, COVID put a hurt on us there. It hurt us because we had just started a capital campaign to raise some funds to do that, and we started that in February of 2020. It was bad, like the worst timing in history. But it's still there. We do have a heck of we got a lot of assets here. They're just not packaged and just not marketed right. But the housing situation is a tough one. So you have land being identified.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. That's good. We're doing all we can to bring the right kinds of wages in here. We have an announcement coming this coming week that
Excited about.
Good announcement.
Okay.
Probably the biggest announcement that's come out of this county in 40 years. So lots of good paying jobs.
I have a question. Do the county own the building downtown in New River Center, the one that it used to be the old health department? Where it has a movie theater on the side?
Oh, in the middle of the big parking lot?
Yes, in the middle of that big park. There's nothing in it, is there?
Well, there's some tenants in the outer parts.
They got I said sort of like a tattoo thing for the movie side, but there's nothing in the other side, the front and the side over.
That's owned, best of my knowledge, still owned by a guy named Woody. No,
it's not.
Not by the county, not to my knowledge.
Another question, you had just touched on it. So many people, like you say, live in work in New Bern and live here. You can't hardly get out on 17 in the evening and in the morning. So like you said, if they're working there, they're taking their money back home when it's the weekend. So if they don't spend it here, what I'm saying, because they're going back home, because they work back and forth, and we don't have enough, whatever it is. My problem is like Wilmington Health, behind my house. They told me to take, my neighbor had to go see a specialist. She went to the one behind the house, but then she had to go to see a specialist, so I drove her down to Wilmington, and it's the same big office as the one that's behind the house. So I'm saying they move in to Jacksonville. I realize they create a bunch of jobs, but they bring their own, because I asked the girl, I said, where did you go to school at? She said, I went to school in some place. She said, but I'm not from here, because I asked her, I said, but where do you? She said, I'm not from here. She said, I stay with a neighbor, and then I go back home on the weekend. I'm saying, so therefore, we're not even keeping the people that, if you're going to build something, if it was my town, you're going to build something here, then you would have to hire people that are living in the county to work in it. That's the only way you're going to keep the money in town. So a lot of them, they don't even live here, because I've been here before Western Boulevard was a dirt road.
Was a road.
And Henderson Extension didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, when all those places out there, the Academy and all of that was built, it was nothing out there then. So now all of them I asked, are you from here? Have you went to school at Coastal? They know. Went to school at ECU, or went to NC State or whatever. And then they go back home. So therefore, we're not keeping the resources here, because the people that from the big companies, like you said, pay them, they take their money elsewhere. And Jacksonville just left. But Jacksonville is unique, because I noticed like places like MRL, Surf City and all of them, they got unique little shops, and maybe, like you said, 2 or 3 people work in them. Mm-hmm. They are stable year in and year out, because they have like that fishing tournament or something down there, and they bring in money to last them throughout and everything. So it's a lot different than Jacksonville, because we got a county hospital over here sitting in the middle of the city. I never understood that. That's just the way it works, I guess. And then we have the county, health department downtown inside the city. So I guess you don't understand what I'm saying, but my thought is we need people that, if you're gonna come here, put your business here, just like the guy there who built another place. He said, I don't want people from here going with me to work in it. I want the people that I'm putting in their town to work in it. Go there, train them, and then you leave, so they'll have the job and they'll keep it up. Then that way you can go back and build another. That's all I'm saying.
We do have,
Is that far-fetched?
we have 13,000 some odd people every day that leave Jacksonville to go to work in New Hanover County.
Every little part.
And I believe, this is anecdotal, I don't have evidence to prove it, but I believe that while they're there, they either fill their cars up with gas on the way to work or on the way home, and they buy groceries. And that goes a long way to explaining $125 million worth of grocery leakage. But I also know young couples, especially young professional couples, that load up on Saturday morning in the car with their coolers and go to Wilmington to shop at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
And as long as they're down there, they're going to catch a movie, they're going to eat lunch, buy the shoes, you know, and all that is helping the city of Wilmington's provision of services to their citizens.
I go shopping in Wilmington. I mean, if we all tell the truth, we all shop other places.
I go to Fort Bragg because there's nothing at the mall. They used to close, and I had a Sears card. Sears closed.
I don't know
I
what
go on
to tell
days,
you.
but I don't go much other, you know.
And they
Plus
closed my
plus we're
Johnson
traveling on the
drugstore.
road.
Yeah, traveling.
Yeah.
Oh, they were my
I
best.
mean, I was in
I can find
Asheville last
anything
week. I shopped in Asheville, but I didn't come to I live here.
I don't tell nothing else.
Well, Mark, we definitely thank you. Is there anything that we could take as a takeaway,
I do have,
as a committee?
I do have another question. You got $100,000 grant for minority and women-owned businesses.
That's right.
How are you going to disperse that? How is that?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. In our strategic plan, it was, you were part of back in 2019, we had the top strategic goal for the next 5 years was to build economic development capacity, right? So that consisted of lots of little things, but one of them was support to entrepreneurism. And of course, right after we published that strategic plan, COVID hit, well, Florence hit, COVID hit, so forth and so on. We had a bunch of hiccups there, but we were able this year to get past the formative stages of creating a revolving loan fund to support our local businesses. Now, that's a tool in our community toolbox that hasn't existed here before, that is going to help our small businesses with gap financing. Gap financing is nonprofit lending. So we're a nonprofit. We intend to loan money in a nonprofit way to local businesses that need their gap filled. And the gap is, what can you get from your local banker, from your commercial bank, and what do you need? And if the difference is $50,000, that's where the gap financing comes in, right? It's to help them get over the hump, get that project done, and help that business succeed. We, how to get it dispersed, Brian, it's the board, the Jacksonville Onslow Economic Development Partnership Board of Directors created a committee. And the committee, they called the loan committee, is now, they call the loan fund the Community Business Loan Fund. The Community Business Loan Fund will receive applications, and they're set up with their policies now. Truist Bank gave us a very generous $100,000 of seed money to start it off, and then Duke Energy followed the next day with another $25,000, but I intend to leverage that into about $1 million of nonprofit lending capacity in 2023. The committee will be ready to, I think their goal for receiving applications is February. It'll be online. You can go to our website right now and see a little green tab on the far right that says business loans. And it's just one more way to, that second leg in the stool to help our local businesses get strong and stay strong. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Mark, how do you offer, at least some advice and some coaching on these new businesses when they receive the funds from you? How do you ensure that they're successful?
So, if we could ensure that they were successful, they wouldn't need the help, Tracy.
You wouldn't need this help alone.
But I can tell you that the committee, the loan committee, they're all business owners, right? And bankers. There's only 2 bankers in there, but all of them are entrepreneurs. And we expect that this applicant is not only going to have a very strong pro forma, and they're going to have help from the Small Business Center or somewhere else having a business plan, and they're going to have some equity. And they're going to have their own skin in the game, right? That's the best we can do. Now, our investors like Truist expect us to not, they don't expect that we're going to win 100% of the time, because we are taking a risk.
That's right.
On a riskier class than the commercial bank is. But that's why the investors give us the money to lend, right? Is because sometimes we need to take a risk there. Sometimes that's all it takes to get over the hump. So now the investors also put strings on it, like Truist, like Brian said. Truist's case is for minority-owned business, for women-owned businesses, and service-disabled veterans. So we have to track every dollar of that giving and make sure that was deployed in the way that that board of directors wants it deployed.
I am glad to hear you say that, because as far as the activity for CDBG funds, you mentioned most of the components in order to access that money. It is a risk that you're willing to take, but you also do things to coach and ensure that that business is successful. You don't just let them have the money, but you make sure that they have a strong foundation. But also, what I think helps businesses is hands-on, some kind of hands-on coaching to, do a checkup, maybe a quarterly checkup, just to make sure that, if they have any questions or anything like that. I'm not saying you all do it, but to get them in collaboration and partnership with someone who can do that kind of coaching.
Absolutely. It is a community effort, though. That committee can't function without,
That's right.
the Small Business Center, without the help of the local bankers. And quite frankly, it's a partnership with our commercial bankers. The commercial banker has a business owner that they believe in. They just can't, by their regulations, get to the finish line. So the concept is bring them over to the Community Business Loan Fund. If the Community Business Loan Fund funds it, that's good. But the idea is to get that business owner over that hump so they don't need the loan fund anymore.
Right.
Take them back to the bank and said, he's graduated, no longer needs our help. That's a success story.
That's correct. That's correct. That's good to know. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions? If not, we'll give it
You're
back to
welcome to stay, or?
I'm gonna stick around if it's all
Okay.
right with you guys.
Absolutely.
Keep Brian in.
One other question. So if I have a question, you out at the new building?
At the depot. At the depot, train depot downtown.
You at the train depot?
Mhm.
The new one down?
No, not the new one. Anthony's down there. I'm at the old one.
What?
Yeah.
around that Riverwalk
Maybe.
Park.
I'm by the caboose. In fact, I
Yeah,
went-
the caboose. I thought you was down at the new
Some
building.
days I
the
go out
new
in the caboose
Move
and hide
everything
out.
down there. Okay, I just have some questions.
Yeah,
about
stop
the
by the caboose, the depot, not the caboose.
You're
They
in my
put you over
hood.
there.
You're in my neighborhood.
Yeah, mine too. Just bought a house there Friday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 2.5 blocks away from the depot.
Cool.
It cut my walk to work and
Okay.
by a lot.
I guess.
Alright.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
tax dollars. We appreciate it.
Anything I can do to help.
Okay. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at our last meeting's minutes? And if you have changes, let me know, or if you'd like to go ahead and approve it.
See if I look at it.
If I can get a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion with that We
Approve
accept
the
the
minutes.
minutes with the necessary correction.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
They are approved, and I'll sign them after the meeting. Planning Board, I guess I'm back up again. What we have, and it's been a while since I missed last meeting that we had, but on September 12th, we actually had a zoning needs as a result of a recent voluntary annexation by City Council of 22.25 acres for housing. And that's actually right along Burgaw Highway. That was one of them. In New River Housing, which we've all been involved in, there was a residential zoning that we did because those houses as they were, those apartments, were too close to the street. So we had to actually recommend to council that some of the setbacks be changed, and there were some that were so close that they could not be changed. So there was some housing areas lost.
How does that happen? I mean,
Because those houses were built in the 1940s,
okay,
before there were needs for sidewalks, before there were curb and gutter,
okay.
before a lot of things happened.
Probably zoning.
And that particular area was some of the very first base housing. So there wasn't a lot of what you'd call planning boards in effect.
Okay.
And vehicles at that time were pretty narrow compared to today. And there was no need for additional parking space like there is today.
So Steve, when you say that the houses that were too close, are those now off the market or can they still?
They'll be part of the demolition.
They'll be part of demolition?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what'll go there in the place of that?
Open space,
Okay,
potentially even parking space.
okay.
Is there an estimate of how many units there are affected by that?
I think there was about 40 that were affected.
40.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Well,
And
now
what area,
remember,
where is this area?
this is the area that's closest to the nursing home and back in through that area,
Oh, down in that
plus,
area.
plus across the street,
Mhm.
you know, where the, well,
Okay. It is, you know what? It is narrow over there.
mhm,
Yeah,
yes, it is. Mhm.
now that you think about it.
In comparison with
Yeah.
driving around any other area, you know, including Northwoods, which also has some houses pretty close to the roadside.
Yeah,
You can
So-
jump out and jump back in over
Okay.
Northwoods.
And we did a special use
Okay.
permit on a AA storage facility, and that is common. Storage facilities are special use permits. That's why the planning board sees them. The other one is the old First Baptist Church down on Ann Street, next to New River, was purchased by Infant of Prague.
Right.
And that's going to be expanded into their K through 12 school. But because there is an actual overflight, helicopter overflight, it has to come to the planning board to get a recommendation to city council. Just like any other school in Jacksonville or the local area, because helicopters fly and it's an awareness thing.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Awareness.
Everywhere.
Okay, and this was just a neighborhood commercial to corridor, 1.84 acres of property that Catalyst Church owns.
Callis Church.
Used to-
Gum Branch Road?
Yes, on Gum Branch.
I have to see a picture of it.
Yeah. That's all for planning board. Community development, Tracy, reports?
Well, good evening once again, everyone. Just wanted to go over several items that we have. I'm going to be presenting information about the CDBG funding, the CARES Act, also the progress and updates for the 23-24 annual action plan, and finish up with some CD projects. So the Community Development Block Grants, the CARES Act, we have processed over 730 applications. 274 households have been funded, and we have spent a total of $132,000. The total amount of the funds was $530,000, which the bulk of that went toward the homeless shelter, which it was identified in our 5-year plan that we need to invest our dollars in our homeless shelters and our homeless population. So when we had that opportunity and that funding came through, we invested in that area, which was needed. We also are in the process of developing our annual action plan. We have conducted several input meetings. The next input meeting is going to be on Thursday, January 26th at 6 p.m. at the Onslow County Public Library. This is a very important part of our process, to which our community members, we can participate. All of y'all can come and participate, support, and get the word out that we need to get the public and the community input to tell us how to spend these dollars, community development block grant dollars that's coming into this community. This is the final annual action plan of our current 5-year plan. Next year, we're going to be starting to plan the next 5-year plan, and community is going to tell us how we should spend $1.8 million over the course of 5 years. So it's going to be a little bit more detail, a little bit more drilling down on how we should spend that money over the course of 5 years in our next planning process. Wanted to also tell you that there's a there's a QR code that if you go to the city website, you'll be able to fill out the survey really, really quickly. All you got to do is just scan your phone on that symbol, and you'll be able to, it'll take you straight to that survey. And you have the chance to win one of our 2 $25 Visa gift cards. So please, the community, we need your input to tell us how to spend this money. And we look forward to seeing what the outcome of our survey. So again, we look forward to seeing you all on Thursday, January 26th, 6 p.m. at the Onslow County Public Library. Next, we're going to talk about CD projects. I'm going to give you one of the projects, current projects that we're doing right now. We're renovating some of the homes that is in Country Club Villas at 427 and 429 Myrtlewood Circle. Those two units were the worst of the units that was in that neighborhood, and the city went in and purchased those 2 units. We have currently 3 units for sale. I think one is pending at 516 Myrtlewood. So these are the 2 that we're finishing up in our renovations. So these are the before pictures of what those units looked like before we went in and purchased. And now we will show you what's for sale. These are renovated all the way down to the stubs coming back. You're talking about new flooring. That's the back end of that. When I say that was the worst, and now they're looking like this. That's the improve. We've added some outdoor living spaces. We have updated all of the flooring, the walls, the paint, the finishes, the light fixtures, everything. The windows are energy efficient. And these are some nice brand new units that are for sale. And I'm going to turn it over to Pam, because I don't want to give too much as far as how do people qualify to purchase these units, and they're very affordable. So I'm going to hand it over to Pam, and she's going to go over how anyone could qualify for this purchase of these units. So.
All right, well, we'll bring into that as we go through with the different projects. So we have our demolition. We just completed our 161st demolition. We have a few more that are coming down the pipeline. And for those that are not familiar, it's one of our HUD national objectives that we help remove slum and blight. And we provide a grant to our citizens on a voluntary standpoint. They still maintain ownership of the land. We're just helping them remove the structures from the property. So if you know of any structures that we need to help provide assistance, please contact us at 910-938-5286. And in regards to preparing to become a homeowner, we have 2 classes that we offer. We have finished our 2022 calendar, and now we are moving into our 2023 calendar. One of the first things that we require is for you to have the finances available to purchase a home. And why not come to a free class that the city offers with our financial coach, Rachel Gerald, and learn about how to handle your credit, how to work a budget, how to handle your finances. And this is open to anyone, regardless if you are currently a homeowner or if you're looking to become a homeowner. I have had retired officers leave the class and still say they've learned information. Our next class is February the 4th, and this is a free class. Our new location for 2023 will be at the Jacksonville station. So our new transportation building, we will now be there in the new year of 23. And the second class is our homebuyers education class. This one is a required course for those that are interested in becoming a homeowner, and definitely those that are interested in purchasing one of the townhomes that we have available in Country Club Villas, or having a home constructed newly on a city-owned lot. The process is required of attending a class on a Saturday from 8 to 5. It is $25 per person. We have it sponsored by a mortgage lender. There are different professionals that are part of the home buying process that come out and speak to the participants in class. We've also taken into a partnership with Habitat for Humanity and NC Works to come out and talk about being able to have a house built through Habitat for Humanity, or identifying employment opportunities with NC Works and how they actually work their process as well. So for those that might be needing to have additional income to be able to make homeownership a possibility, NC Works will come out and explain to them how to get their resume together, what classes they offer. They also show us what jobs are actually needed within the community as well. So we offer that 5 times a year. And then after the class is complete, we schedule a one-on-one counseling session with myself. And in that counseling session, we actually look at what your credit score has and what your finances currently look like. And then I put you on an actual game plan to take your credit score to be able to be qualified to become a homeowner, and then also to make sure your finances are together and you have the funds saved to be able to go through the home buying process without the stress of it affecting your daily finances. And once you have gone through the classes and you have gotten to the point that you are now approved to go through a lender, this is what takes place. A home that is newly constructed on a city-owned lot, that once the construction is finalized, it will be turned over to a brand new homeowner, which then puts the tax base back into the economics, which helps with the jobs that are provided, because this is actually a local owned builder that is doing the construction with Jumpstart Investments. So this is definitely an opportunity of helping the economics. And in 1 month time frame, this is what we are currently working with. So we started from dirt to now the house is newly constructed. Vinyl siding is up, and if we go on the inside, we have drywall up as well. So this will become ready, turnkey ready within probably the second, third week of January. And construction started in November. All right, our next opportunity is, as we stated, we have 516 Myrtlewood Circle. We also have the other two of 427 and 429 Myrtlewood Circle. These homes were renovated, as Tracy stated, where we went in, purchased them as their very dilapidated state, turned around and did the rehabilitation on the homes. And now we are ready for these to become turned over to the next homeowner. These will actually be sold by the city as by owner. And the great thing about that is it allows us to control what the interest rate will be, which is less than what the market calls for right now. So it truly makes it affordable for the homeowner that thought they would never be able to own a home in today's economy. And all three of these homes will also have a privacy fence installed, home security, on top of the new renovations that's been done on the inside. All right. Back to you, Mr. Forney.
And I think we're looking right now at the one city, our city, my city moment. And I think we see a lot of examples of that during our holiday season as to everybody is in a much better mood and attitude. COVID, in large part, is over locally, although we do have the flu coming back in. So I'd remind everyone to get their flu shot if they haven't already gotten it. But that's my spiel as far as a moment, just the change in people as we see during this month.
I'll tell you something, I got 60 kids in Jones County, and I got 50 out at the alternative school in Swansboro. Christmas gifts. And my house, I can't even walk in it. But it's a good thing.
Do we have any possible, or if we have any future agenda topics, please send them in to any one of us, or, get a hold of Tracy, anybody, and we can forward it if needed. Do I have any questions or comments?
I would just like to make an announcement that the city of Jacksonville, we are on the cusp of becoming a HUD certified counseling agency. This is a national distinct indicator from HUD that we can service the public that comes into City Hall and help them in all of their housing needs. It is a very strenuous process, and we are almost getting ready to cross the finish line. We're like 99% ready to cross the finish line. So I want to publicly give Pamela Trafton kudos. So because she has been working with HUD to ensure that we become that HUD certified counseling agency. The nearest one that we have, Wilmington, they just got their designation in this past summer. We're going to be the only two this east of Raleigh. So it is a very big and important designation for the city of Jacksonville to have. HUD does not take it lightly, apparently, with all of the work that we have done. But I've got my certification. Pam has her certification. The only thing that we need to do is to have the city get its designation as well. So we're 99%. I'm hoping by the next time we meet, we will have a big announcement that the city of Jacksonville is a HUD certified counseling agency.
On behalf of the
Kudos.
city council, I'd like to thank you both for your efforts as we go forward. Thank you.
And the city is still doing passports, right?
Yes.
Okay. In case people didn't know that. The city does passport applications.
Yes.
or processes them. Key dates, City Hall will be closed December 23rd, December 26th, January 2nd, and January 16th. Our home buyer education course is January 21st. And all of these are published on many other things out there. January 26th is a community input meeting. We have a couple sessions on February 2nd and 3rd of the Nonprofit Board Development Conference. February 4th, Money Management Workshop. February 10th, grant funding applications. Those that annually put in for the grants will know what I'm talking about when I talk about the grant funding applications due. And then, of course, I responded yes on the February 22, 23, the Grant Review Committee. Our next meeting is February 27th, followed by April 24th, and then June 26th. And if there are no questions or comments, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Gotta go up there.
All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.